Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I was just reading in Politico, which is a tip sheet for Democrats. All right, I'm a partisan broadcaster. It's okay to be partisan. Politico is partisan. And Politico is just a tip sheet for Democrats. So I want to know what Democrats are thinking or what they want people to think. I read Politico. So here, sure enough, at 5 a.m. this morning, the leader of a Democratic donor network fielded excited calls Tuesday night from donors looking to help expand the party's chances of winning seats in Texas and Florida. Progressive candidate recruitment group Run for Something saw spikes in signups in the last 24 hours. And Senate Democrats are eyeing Ohio, Iowa, and Alaska, states Trump won by double digits as battleground. All right. Alaska does have a great senator, Dan Sullivan, but they have this very bizarre ranked choice voting system that I don't understand. So I'm going to have Dan Sullivan on a lot between now and then, and we got to tell everyone in Alaska to vote for Dan Sullivan. John Cornyn will win handily in Texas. This article, in fact, acknowledges that John Cornyn would win handily, that Democrats are hoping that Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton wins a divisive primary against John Cornyn, into which Wes Hunt is also stepped, I believe, and that somehow John Cornyn isn't renominated, because you can't beat John Cornyn. This is one of the reasons I like John Cornyn a lot. I think it's great to have someone who is a former Texas Supreme Court justice and a longtime respected member of the Senate with a lot of seniority working on behalf of the Lone Star State. I expect President Trump to endorse him, Senator Cruz to endorse him. I expect all Republicans in Texas to figure out, hey, we don't want to have to defend a seat that doesn't require any defense, and we might actually lose. So Democrats are laying out a script, and they're trying to telegraph through the media that Democrats should register as Republicans and vote in the Republican primary in order to elect anybody other than John Cornyn, who can't be beat in Texas. So I want Republicans to know, vote for John Cornyn. But I'm also here to tell you, Ohio is not going to vote for Sherrod Brown. He's obliged to find a job for the first time in his life. He went right from Yale to the Ohio State House, to the Congress, the House of Representatives, then to the Senate, 50 years in government. Ohio is not bringing him back. He wants to come back. He's going to try that. Lots of Ohio candidates over the years have lost and then tried to come back and had the door slammed in their face, because Ohio voters have moved on, and Ohio is a ruby red state. Iowa is also a ruby red state. Joni Ernst has stepped down. Ashley Hinson is going to win. So what is this puff talk about? They're not going to win the Senate back? I mean, not impossible. Florida's impossible. The idea that they're going to get someone in Florida to beat Ashley Moody is about as silly as I've ever heard. But we'll have on Senator Moody. I first interviewed her when she was Attorney General Moody. She's very smart. She's very well liked. She's won statewide in Florida. What are they doing? Well, when you hear about a Democratic progressive group, what they are doing is raising money for themselves. They want you to contribute to their PAC so that they can recruit their candidates so that they can take their cut. Now, I'm going to leave it to the ruthless fellas. Leave it to Josh Holmes and Comfortably Smug and Michael Duncan and John Ashbrook to explain this in detail for you. I'm asking them, I'm putting out the ruthless bat signal. Please explain why consultants want candidates to run impossible races. They want to begin a narrative that it's possible because consultants want to make money from small dollar donors who are, frankly, dumber than Steelers fans. And small dollar donors, for example, Graham Plantner in Maine will never beat Susan Collins. Janet Mills in Maine will never beat Susan Collins. All right? And none of that. John Cornyn is not beatable. And Ashley Moody is not beatable. But they ran an absolute kamikaze candidate against Lindsey Graham. I think they spent $20 million 6 years ago against Lindsey Graham and got 42% of the vote. There's some people who cannot be beat. John Cornyn, Lindsey Graham, Ashley Moody. They just can't be beat. Ohio, Iowa, they're not going to flip to a blue candidate. I don't care if it's an off year. The economy's going to be better, and it's already getting better. And the false positive of Tuesday night, they're trying to get your money. Don't fall for it. Politico is a tip sheet for what the Democrats want you to believe. It's not reality. It's a funhouse mirror. And that is my public service announcement for you today. Come right back. Senator Jim Talent joins me next. We're going to talk about the filibuster and what I just told you about Democrats and consultants. Stay tuned. Welcome back, America. Former Missouri Senator Jim Talent joins me. He's a senior fellow at the Reagan Institute Center for Peace Through Strength. Senator Talent, welcome back. I just got done trying to explain why the Democrats want the country, or at least the Beltway, to believe that there are winnable races in Ohio and Iowa and Texas. Now, I suppose it's possible in Texas if John Cornyn isn't nominated. But I mean, it's not possible to beat John Huston in Ohio. Bernie Moreno vanquished Sherrod Brown when Sherrod Brown was an incumbent. And Iowa is about as red as Missouri. Am I right? This is consultants looking to expand their war chest?
You've cracked the code. They're in the business of running campaigns, and sometimes they will generate campaigns in order to raise money and make money. And I think that is largely what is going on here. I doubt seriously they have numbers indicating they can win in Ohio or Iowa, or certainly not Florida, but they would like to have the campaigns. I mean, it's their business, Hugh, and they do it with ballot issues too, all the time. And ballot issues are particularly good because you don't have a candidate to manage then. So
I think that's
probably a lot of it.
They look up at Maine and they see that Donald Trump only wins 1 out of their 4 districts, or 1 out of their 4 electoral votes. I can't remember how they do it. That's it. One per CD and 2 for the state. So Trump got 1 from the northern CD up there, and they think, oh, we can take out Susan Collins. You served with Susan Collins. They will never beat Susan Collins. They tried, I think, $200 million. $200 million to try and beat her.
Well, I don't want to jinx Susan, and I don't want to cut off her fundraising, but I definitely tend to agree with you. I mean, look, anything can happen. We can't be certain. We've talked about the fact that if the economy is off or sluggish, and I think it is getting better, I think the reductions in energy prices are very hopeful. On the other hand, we're flying against the headwind of AI, which is going to be costing us jobs in the short term. So I don't want to get into an economic analysis, but I do not expect any of those states to be lost to the Republican Party. And there is no question. Look, I could tell you stories, stories. I've seen it with ballot issues in particular. I mean, they'll go out and they'll convince. The one thing I disagree with you about is, yes, they raise some money from small donors, but what they really like are the extremely wealthy people they can approach and sell a bill of goods and raise, get millions of dollars in contributions from them because they think they're changing the direction of the country.
Do you think anyone really, this is why I like the Ruthless podcast so much, Jim Talent, is because they actually explore the underbelly. They're pros. I don't know how much money media buyers make, but it's a vast amount of money, and it's hidden.
Oh, yeah.
No one really knows how that.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Placing
now
those
let's talk
ads,
about
I mean, that's the big profit center for him, is placing those ads.
And now I want to go to the filibuster. I'm pretty opposed to changing the filibuster. Jim Langford came on here yesterday and said, no, not now, not ever, ever, never. I think Majority Leader Thune's in my camp and the Langford camp. But you kind of want to probe around, and so I want to give you a chance to sell that poison. It's poison, Jim. Poison.
Yeah, it really isn't. It's a narrow exception. I mean, I wrote about it with my former chief of staff, Mark Strand. Your producer has written about it. It would be an exception to the it would be an exception to the rule that would permit the Senate by a simple majority to pass a clean CR that did not raise or lower levels of spending and contain no policy, no riders or anything like that. And the argument for it, is the argument from necessity. In other words, sure, the filibuster means the Senate can shut down the Senate. It shouldn't mean that the Senate can shut down the executive and judicial branches. And it was exactly on the basis of that argument that the filibuster was constrained in cases of the confirmation calendar for executive or judicial confirmations, because otherwise we couldn't have staffed the judicial and executive branch. So I really see it very consistent with Senate precedent. I think it would, if we did it, then we'd never have to deal with this kind of a thing again, at least from a Senate minority. This is the first time in my memory that a Senate minority has shut down the government. In the past, it was always a majority of the House or the Senate or both against the president. So, yeah, I would do it if I was them, but I don't blame Thune for. I mean, he doesn't have the votes to do that, and if you don't have the votes, you know, there's no point in trying it. So. Yeah, I'd like to see it.
And the president was pretty. The president was pretty blunt with Bret Baier last night. He said, "I don't want to make any enemies. These guys have been good to me. These gals have been nice to me. I'm not going to go to the wall for this. It's not going to happen." And I think his messaging muddled the picture on Tuesday night, because I think Tuesday night was a false positive for Democrats. The tides of American electoral history are pretty fixed. And if you're in the White House and you have both the House and the Senate, you're not going to do good in the off year, which isn't the midterm. Isn't that true?
And that explains most of it, Hugh. So 2 points, and I did some local interviews today and pointed this out. Okay, so if one voter out of 50 in New Jersey and Virginia had voted Republican who voted Democrat, we still lose those states, but it's so close. It's close enough that everybody goes, well, this is what we expected. And remember, those people in the middle, the soft voters, they're going in there, they're looking at the ballot, and they're sighing to themselves, and they're saying, well, I guess talent's less bad than the other guy. I'm going to vote for him. So I don't see this as anything other than the base Democrats energized. And the one thing I will say, that maybe I can contribute, we need to start talking more about the economy and what the president is doing for it. In other words, the president moves so quickly that it's hard to have message discipline and focus on the issues that the voters say they care about, which is crime and is immigration, but is also the economy. So I'd like to see us just talking more about what the tax bill is going to do, talking more about lowering the price of energy, talking more about rebuilding the manufacturing base and creating good jobs. And I expect they'll get there. That's a pretty obvious conclusion to draw.
And he started today in the Oval when he talked about the cost of Thanksgiving dinner, the neutral metric every year, down 25% in 1 year. That's remarkable.
Yes, and the price of food usually tracks the price of energy. There's a lag time, but it tracks it. So I expect the price of food to start stabilizing or going down.
Jim Talent, always good to talk to you. I will talk to you after the Veterans Day next, so enjoy the Veterans Day. Follow Jim on X at Jim Talent.